The Forgotten Orphanage, a true horror story based on real events. Prologue. Nestled deep in the fog-covered hills of Blackwood, there lay the remains of an abandoned orphanage, one that carried whispers of dark secrets and untold horrors. Few dared to venture near it, and those who did never returned the same. For decades, St. Helena's Home for Children stood as a sanctuary for orphans. But behind its cold stone walls, something sinister lurked. Children vanished, their cries lost in the night. The staff ignored it, passing it off as runaways. But the town knew better. One stormy night, the orphanage shut down. Overnight, no explanations, no records, just empty halls and the haunting echoes of laughter that no longer belonged to anyone. Years later, a group of urban explorers set out to uncover the truth. They thought it was just another abandoned building, but what they found inside would change their lives forever. Chapter 1. The Dare. Jake, Emily, and Sam were known for their exploration videos on YouTube. They thrived on urban legends and haunted locations. When they heard about the orphanage of Blackwood, they knew they had to see it for themselves. "Dude, we have to check this out," Sam said, scrolling through an old Reddit thread detailing the history of the place. "People say they hear voices inside, like children whispering." Emily shuddered. "That's messed up, but imagine the views we'd get." Jake, their fearless leader, grinned. "All right, let's do it." That weekend, armed with cameras, flashlights, and a thirst for adventure, they set out for Blackwood. Chapter 2. The Entrance. The orphanage stood like a rotting corpse, its walls cracked, vines consuming what remained. The rusted iron gate creaked open on its own, as if inviting them in. "Creepy as hell," Emily muttered, gripping her flashlight. Inside, the air was thick, damp with the scent of decay and something rotten. Their footsteps echoed in the vast empty halls. Old cribs lined the walls, beds untouched for decades. A rocking horse swayed gently, though no wind stirred inside. That's when the first sound came. A faint giggle, a child's voice, from the dark hallway ahead. "Did you hear that?" Sam whispered. Jake nodded. "Keep rolling." Chapter 3. The Forgotten Files. In the headmistress's office, they found old documents covered in dust. Patient records, medical files. Some names were crossed out, their fates unknown, but one name stood out. Eleanor, case 146, special subject. Underneath, a note in shaky handwriting. "Do not let her out. Do not call her name." The temperature dropped. Emily gasped. What kind of orphanage keeps files like this? Then, the laughter returned, closer. Chapter 4. The Basement. A door stood ajar at the end of the hall, leading downward. Chains lay broken on the floor. "Guys, we shouldn't," Emily whispered. But Jake had already started descending. The basement was a maze of cells. Each had scratches on the walls, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. And then in the center, they saw it, a tiny rotting chair facing a mirror. The dust-covered surface bore a single fresh handprint, a child's. "Guys, let's go," Sam stammered. But before they could move, a soft humming filled the air. Chapter 5. Eleanor's room. In the reflection, a girl stood behind them, her head tilted, eyes hollow, a smile too wide. Then the lights flickered. Jake screamed, dropping the camera. The room plunged into darkness. A whisper, right beside his ear. "Why did you come?" Chapter 6. Run. The next 5 minutes were a blur. They ran blindly through the corridors, the walls groaning, shifting. Doors slammed shut behind them. Footsteps pattered along the ceilings. As they reached the exit, Emily turned for one last look. The orphanage stood silent, except in the upstairs window. Eleanor watched them leave. Her lips moved. "Come back." Chapter 7. The Aftermath. Jake never uploaded the footage. That night, he found his camera on his bed, though he had left it behind. One file remained, a single 6-second video. The orphanage hallway, the camera turning, and Eleanor's face, inches away. then static. Epilogue. Jake stopped exploring after that. Sam disappeared 2 months later. His house was found abandoned. Doors open. No signs of forced entry. Emily refuses to speak about that night, but sometimes she swears when she closes her eyes, she can still hear the laughter.